the dog park, a place where your pup can run free, owners can mingle with each other, and the occasional fight may break out. Today we are going to be talking about whether you should be taking your Cane Corso to the dog park. So if you're interested in that, keep watching and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We want to reach 100,000 subscribers, so we'd really appreciate if you hit that like button, comment, and yeah, help us reach our goal. So without any further ado, let's get started. So the first question you should be asking yourself is why? Why do you want to take your pup over to a dog park? And I think that a lot of owners can answer this question with the following. You may be wanting to socialize your dog. Maybe you live in an apartment or in a city where you don't have a backyard for your dog to be able to run free. And lastly, it's just fun, you know, that's a reason that you can have for wanting to take your dog to the dog park. You want to see your dog interact with other dogs. I mean, come on, like seeing a bunch of dogs in one place together, how can that not be any more entertaining? Now, while all of these reasons are perfectly valid, I believe that you should be taking into consideration a couple of things. Firstly, in regards to socialization, you might be thinking that this is a perfect opportunity for your dog to, run free, get to sniff other dogs, get to meet other dogs with different personalities. And while all this is true, this is not necessarily the best way to socialize your dog. Remember that socialization doesn't mean that your dog has to meet every dog, that your dog has to meet every person and get pet by every person and interact, face to face with somebody. Socialization for a dog is just being able to expose your dog to different circumstances and environments and situations while they are growing up, so that nothing really comes to them as a surprise, and this helps you create a very well-rounded dog. So with this in mind, the time to socialize your dog is very crucial to their development, to the development of their behavior, and it's also a very fragile time. You have to remember that this is a very impressionable time for your pup, and that your goal with socialization should be to help your dog remain calm in all kinds of circumstances. So if you are looking to socialize your dog, do you think that taking them into a closed off area with a bunch of other dogs is going to be the best place to be able to practice those things with your dog? Not really. Just think about it. You're putting your dog in a closed off area that's frenzied with a bunch of other dogs that he doesn't know, bunch of distractions. This is probably the place with the highest distractions that you could possibly put your pup in. So I personally do not think that this is the best place for you to socialize your dog if that is what you have in mind. Now, the second point, you want your dog to have an area to run, to exercise. You might be living in a city or in an apartment, or you just don't have access to a backyard. I know that this can be very difficult for a lot of owners, but as an alternative, what I would do in that situation is I would just get a really, really long leash and take my dog out to a park, to a place that's, outside, to give them that same kind of, environment of being outdoors and sniffing and allowing them to be a dog. But I would have a really, really long leash, and I would be practicing obedience commands with my dog instead. And with the long leash, you can work your way towards having them to be off leash once they are, perfect with their commands. So that's something that I would do as an alternative if that is a reason that I had for taking my dog to the dog park and I didn't have a place for them to run free. And this adds on to safety. You'll have your dog leashed and you will work your way towards them being off leash. I think that's one of the best ways to do it. Now, lastly, you want to go to the dog park with your Cane Corso for personal enjoyment. And I think that out of all of the things that I mentioned previously, this is the easiest one to give up. You can just easily invite a doggy friend that you know, and this would honestly just give you a more controlled environment because you know the dog, you probably know the owner. It'll just be a safer way for you to allow your dog to socialize, but also get that personal enjoyment of seeing your dog play with another dog. So as an alternative, that's what I would do if it was just a matter of personal enjoyment. You can just have a puppy play date. That way you know that dog, and it can just be a better experience altogether. So you've already asked yourself why. Why do you want to take your dog to the dog park. And maybe after all of the things that I mentioned, you're like, yeah, but you know, I still want to take my dog to the dog park. So, okay, now the second question that you should ask yourself is, should you take your dog to the dog park? If your dog has behavioral issues, resource guarding, aggression, reactivity, you should not be taking your dog to a dog park. Is your dog well trained? Does your dog listen to you no matter what the distraction? Is your dog's recall very good? Can you easily recognize and identify, you know, your dog's body language, other dogs' body language? These are all things that you really need to take into account and into consideration when thinking if you should take your dog to a dog park. Sorry if this looks a little bit different now, it's just that I had to change my camera. Now, I'm going to give you my personal take about this. As the owner of 2 Cane Corsos, this is something that crossed my mind many times, and I personally like dog parks for training purposes. If I take my dogs near one, it would never be to go actually inside of the dog park, but just outside and, you know, practice some of our commands that way, so that they can see the distractions, they can hear the distractions, they can see the commotion of other dogs, and hear people talking. I think that it's a good spot for that, and that it serves its purpose that way. Will I ever consider to take my dogs to the dog park?
Oh hell no!
Absolutely not. Why? Well, the reason would be because of DIFs. DIFs standing for disease, injuries, and fights. First off, I mean, I would be putting my dogs in a place where I don't know the other dogs. I don't know how they're doing, you know, health-wise. Dogs can transmit diseases within each other, amongst each other. So that is something that I take into consideration, and when I outweigh the pros and the cons, I'm like, yeah, I would rather not deal with my dogs contracting something from a dog park. So diseases, I'm not for that. Secondly, injuries. Injuries are very possible and probable at a dog park. Between Dante and Peach, I trust that when they are playing with each other, they know their limits. I know that I can leave them by themselves and that they're able to sort out their differences. They're great at communicating. I know that it'll never end up in a situation that one of them can get hurt. So I trust my dogs. I don't trust other people's dogs to do that for them. Fights. Fights are inevitable. Just imagine a dog park like being a daycare for kids. There's always that one kid that always has a runny nose that's like talking too close to you. It's inevitable somebody's gonna get slapped, okay? So just, you know, there's so many personalities, so many different kinds of dogs that there are gonna be disagreements. And because I don't know those other dogs, I don't know how serious those disagreements can be. So even if it's a small altercation, you can't count on somebody else's dog to be able to de-escalate the situation, or the owner of that dog. One of the biggest reasons that I would never take my dogs to the dog park is because of how they look. If there ever were to be a fight to break out, it's always going to be their fault because they are the bigger ones, they are the meaner looking ones. And that is just the sad truth. I mean, when I see all of the possible negative experiences that could happen at a dog park with my dogs, I'd just rather opt out. And I agreed with this with my husband very early on. Before we got Dante in our house, we were like, we're gonna get this dog. We already know all of the misconceptions and prejudice that are going to come because of his breed, so we'd rather just not put him in a situation like that. And that was the agreement that we came to. I'd rather avoid an unnecessary experience and set my dog up for success. So we would socialize him in other ways. We'd take him with us to like any store that we'd go to, Home Depot, but just taking him to a dog park was never up there, and the same applies for Peach. Now, I know that this is not a very popular opinion and that dog parks are getting more and more popular, especially with all the new generation of dog parents that have dual income and don't have any kids. So, you know, they want to do everything to make sure that their dog is entertained and fulfilled. But I would personally be safe than sorry, and I will not be taking my Cane Corsos to a dog park. There's just no way to trust other people's dogs. There's no way of knowing how they were trained. There's no way of knowing if the owner even trains their dogs to begin with. And it's just not fair to hold everybody to the same standard. Now, you know, if you are that person that still wants to take your dog to the dog park, I ask that you at least have a game plan for taking your dog. Don't just let your dog drag you out of the car and like drag you inside of the dog park. Have a plan, make sure that your dog's obedience is on the spot, that you can recall them no matter what the distraction is. And you know, that's up to every owner's personal judgment. So I'm just sharing what I do with my dogs, and if you still want to do that, I mean, at least make sure that your dog is, you know, well trained and well mannered. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and check out our merch. I'm actually wearing one of our shirts. It's a Dante and Peach right here, and it has their cute little faces on the back. Check it out. I honestly love these shirts. They're super comfortable. I wear them all the time. It's really funny because like I'll go out with the dogs and it's like, how much more obsessed can I be that I like even wear t-shirts of them? But it's a great way to support our channel, so if you guys go ahead and check it out, we'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to check out the courses over at Fenrir that have been very, very essential for my relationship with my dogs. So I highly recommend those courses. I recommend them to anybody, really. So yeah, check out those courses. The links for them are in my description, and don't forget to check out our memberships as well if you want to help support our channel that way. So thank you so much for watching, and see you until next time. Bye!